The weekly meeting of Belize's cabinet ministers concluded just before midday today, and in that meeting, there were some adjustments made as to how the country will go about with the signing of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. While the signing of the document will be done to coincide with the International Day Against Corruption on December 9th, the Senate will be ratifying it prior to the signing, which will make the convention effective immediately upon signing. The release notes, quote, rather than signing the convention on December 9, 2016, with Senate ratification at a later date to be determined, the Senate will be asked to meet in a special session to formally consider and approve a motion authorizing a session to the UNCAC. End of quote. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption currently has 140 signatories from around the world, and it was first entered into force on December 14, 2005. The UN Convention Against Corruption covers priority areas such as prevention, criminalization, international cooperation, and asset recovery. During their strike, the Belize National Teachers Union made 8 demands. One of those demands was the activation of the Public Accounts Committee. PAC, in a meeting with the union, Prime Minister Dean Barrow had agreed to an expansion of the PAC in order to turn it into a standing committee made up of members from the House of Representatives and the Senate. PAC has always been a committed that the area representative for the South, Julius Espat, has been passionate about, and with the decision by the Prime Minister, we asked Espat to comment.
We stand firm in what we had proposed, and this was many years ago when I had submitted a motion to the House, in that we needed a restructuring of the PAC, and it had to be done in such a way that it wasn't government that had a super majority overall, so that we could have true investigation. Presently we have 4 members of the government on the PAC and 2 members of the opposition, making us 6 members. The chairman being a member of the opposition, who in this case is myself. Our proposal was to leave that 4-2 and bring in the three senators from the social partners, which would make it a total of 9. We felt that was fair, because if government needed to pass a resolution or block something, they only had to convince one of the 3 social partners to be on their side, and it would be fine. And we felt that if the opposition, any opposition, wanted to convince the social partners, they had to convince all 3. And so you see the logic in it. If the opposition can convince all 3 social partners that an issue is pertinent to Belize, to accountability, to transparency, and it has to be heard, then it means that the entire major section of your society is unhappy, and government has a right to listen. What has happened for too long is that we have ministers sitting on these boards that are designed to be able to police themselves, and that will never happen. It will not happen under this government. It will not happen under a PUP government. It will never happen, because you're dealing with politicians trying to protect themselves. So the fight that I have is to make sure that it is fair, that any political party that forms government has to deal with a situation that if they are committing errors or if they are doing something illegal, then the Public Accounts Committee, when it pertains to finances, you have to understand the Public Accounts Committee is not there to do a witch hunt. The Public Accounts Committee is there to analyze the money that is being spent by government on behalf of the people. And the only way we can do it if something is tabled to the House, like the Attorney General's report, or something that is tabled in the budget.
Espat told Love News that he plans to call a meeting to have the PAC investigate the over $300 million of Petrocaribe.
That is something very important for this country to analyze. Where did that money go? How was it spent? Was it value for money? That's the information. We are not here to take anybody to jail. That's not our role. Our role is for the Belizean people to be aware that if their money is being spent properly or not. And so that's why the Public Accounts Committee is important. But we can't have a Public Accounts Committee functioning if the people that you're asking the questions to are the ones that are hiding it. And so I think it's very important. The Chamber originally had agreed to the proposal that I made in the motion. And I think subsequently they had a meeting with Prime Minister and they diluted it. The Prime Minister now wants to increase government representation from 4 to 6 and leave us in a position as 2 and bring in the senators from the social partners, which would make it again ridiculous. You would have 5 people wanting a hearing or wanting an investigation and 6 from government. It goes right back to the reason why they are at the Senate inquiry and the fight that's happening right now. So if government is serious, we welcome the restructuring. We want it, but we want it to be done fairly because we need the work of the people to continue.
According to a spot, the PAC looks at finances, and when it comes to the scandals emanating from the Lands Department, there is a possibility that the PAC can look at that.
It's a tricky thing because the PAC only looks on financing. So if it gets to the case where government is compensating people, then yes, then the PAC could look at something like that. But just the issue of land hustle, no, the PAC can't deal with that. That has to be done at the level of the Senate. Or if the Attorney General takes it up, the Auditor General takes it up and makes a report, then the PAC has the authority to look at it. In this case where it was financing being disbursed by illicit means, then yes, the PAC would have. But if the PAC can't even look at anything, then you see where the problem lies. A couple $100,000 is significant compared to $375 million that was blown away in Petrocarib money. And so that's where you need to get. We Belizeans tend to just want to trim the branches and the leaves. We need to get to the root of the problem, and we need to root it out. Because people are saying, well, PUP do the same, UDP do the same, yes. When will we decide to stop it? When will we decide to put in systems in place to not allow politicians to abuse the people's money? That's where we are. And people are saying, but boss, you only say that right now because we don't want to get in a government. No, what we are saying is have this government that has 4 years more do the right thing. Let them put in all the reforms that are necessary. It will be good for them too. And it will be good for Belize. And when the PUP gets in, then they have a system to deal with that is making sure and forces them to be accountable to the people. That is what we really want. We don't want to wait 4 years from now so that we get in and then we go through a fight internally to be able to do it. The people want it now, they don't want it tomorrow.
The Public Accounts Committee is a body tasked to keep an eye on government spending and investments and ensuring that the checks and balances are all in place. But as far back as 2013, there have been problems in having a functional Public Accounts Committee.